Grace and peace, everybody. Thanks for stopping by my channel. This is TaliYah D. Like, subscribe, share. Today we're going to talk about how to prepare yourself to be a wife. Now, this is kind of going off of the video I made earlier this season, a couple weeks ago, talking about the 3 things you should know before you get married. So this is kind of a continuance of that video. So when you get a chance, go back and listen to that video. But today I'm going to talk about how to prepare yourself to be a wife. I identified 3 things that I feel like women should know before they even consider accepting a proposal, or just to take a step back and ask yourself, am I ready even to be a wife? You know, I hear some women talk about, you know, I'm ready to get married, I'm ready to settle down. But do you even know what that title looks like? Do you know what that title consists of, or what's included in that whole package of being a wife? So I want to touch on that today and talk about three topics or 3 questions I'm going to present to you. So write these down, take your notebooks out, take your notes out, because I want to kind of go over these questions a little bit in detail, like I said, continuing from the previous video about marriage. So let's get started. The first question you can ask yourself is, how am I towards headship? How is my attitude towards having headship or having authority over me? Now, when I say that, look at it towards, think about how are you comfortable with putting a man in front? How are you able to allow him to lead you? How are you comfortable with backing off and having him lead you in certain directions, or leading you in the family? Now, when I say that, I know for me, I had to learn how to pause a lot. I had to learn how to pause a lot, because I'm the type of person who, is ready to roll up her sleeves, get to it, get ready, let's go. But that was when I was by myself. So now, having a husband, I had to learn when to stop and say, wait a second, let me ask his opinion about this. Let me ask his direction on where does he feel like we should go. I considered his thoughts and his opinion and his direction on things. Even though I may have had my own, I learned to consider his first. And then, say I present mine. But I wanted to always hear what he had to say first. Oh, my computer about to go black. Now, that's also a sign of respect. They really desire respect. Ladies, respect is a big thing. It's a big part of the package, being a husband and wife. I take a look back at what Sarah did. I saw she called Abraham Lord twice in scripture. The first one was in Genesis 18:12, and the second one was 1 Peter 3 verses 6. She recognized Abraham as Lord with the little L, not the big L, but she recognized him as her master, as her headship, as her authority. So that's a big thing to consider. If you're not ready for that, or you didn't consider that, this is something to ask yourself and really let that resonate in your spirit. Are you ready to put that part of yourself, I don't want to say put that part of yourself down, but just consider, are you comfortable with that right now? Is that something you need to work on? Is there something you need to work on? So that's fine. Number 2, let's see, look at my notes. Okay, number 2, know your purpose, get to know the gifts that the Most High is giving you. Know what your ministry might be, so you can recognize your husband when he comes or when you're presented to him. And I say that, and I thought about Rebecca's story back in Genesis chapter 24. Now, if you're not familiar with that chapter, Abraham sent out his servant, said, here's the criteria you should look for when you go to my land to find my son a wife. So he already had in his head, this is what I need to look for when I'm looking for a wife for my master's son, for Isaac. So when Rebecca came, she already had a servant's heart. She already was walking in her function, her purpose. She was already walking in her gifts when she met Abraham's servant. So saying that, for example, if you have, let's say, the gift of helps, you have a passion, a purpose in helping people, serving people, you have a servant's heart, and then you have a guy that's trying to court you or trying to give you the opportunity to be his wife, and he's constantly trying to take you away from helping people, have a selfishness about him, constantly having you to choose between what the Most High is calling you to do and what he's trying to lead you away from. That is going to be a conflict that you may want to pray about and consider before taking on that title as being his wife. You should not have to choose between your ministry and what your husband wants you to do. You too, if it's ordained by the Most High, if you and him are put together by the Most High, your ministry and his ministry will complement each other. When you guys come together as one flesh, you'll be like a well-oiled machine. You'll be working together as a team for the kingdom's sake. So it should not be a conflict when you're supposed to be working together for the Most High. So I really hope I explained that really good, because I know that Eve was presented to Adam as a gift. So you want to make sure that you know what your gift is before your husband. You want to know what gifts you can offer before you are married. That's something you can present on the table. That's a part of your purpose. So remember that the Most High is the ultimate matchmaker, and he's going to put something inside of you that you need to get to know first before you get to know anything and anybody else. Okay? So, this is a gift. This is a gift. Not just what's between your legs. That's not a gift. That's a prize. That comes after the fact. So get to know your purpose, your potential, your gift. You are precious in the Most High sight. So that's number 2. Number 3. Dang, my computer. Number 3. Let's take a look. Oh, number 3. Are you ready to become the weaker vessel? Now that stood out to me. You can kind of put that under number 1 about headship, but I wanted to expound on that a little bit more. Now, I got that from 1 Peter 3:7. Well, you can probably read verses 6 and 7, but let me read the verses so you can get a kind of a better understanding if you don't know that scripture offhand. So let's see, verse 6. So Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose children are, if you do well, and are not put in fear by any terror. You husbands, in the same way, live with your wives according to knowledge, giving honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, as also bearing joint heirs of the gift of life, that your prayers may not be hindered. Now, I know when I first got into this walk, when I saw weaker vessel, I kind of got offended. I'm not going to lie. Because, well, for me, I came from a long line of very strong women. Um, and that's a gift. That can be a gift. It's not a hindrance, because everyone has their place in the kingdom. Everyone has their calling and their walk. But I'm like, what does that mean, weaker vessel? But looking at that, weaker vessel, comparing to you and your husband, not saying that you're weak or feeble or incapable of doing things, but weaker vessel as the fact that he is stronger than you physically, but it's okay to put him in the front. It's okay to be a weaker vessel. It's okay to be what I call the damsel in distress. Now let me explain that. Real quick, growing up, I'm about to show my age. I used to watch the Power Rangers back in the 90s. I love that show. And now I'm talking about the original Power Rangers. I'm talking about the five, when like the Black Ranger was black. I used to watch that Power Ranger episode, the original, and I used to like the Yellow Ranger. She was strong. It was the Asian one. She was strong. She was still feminine with it, and she was able to fight. And I could not stand the Pink Ranger. She always fell down, and she always yelled for help, and oh, she just drove me nuts. Always needing a man to help her. But now that I'm older, looking back at that, ladies, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not always be the strong one. It's okay to just, you know what, husband? Can you handle that for me? I don't feel like arguing. I hate calling bills. I hate calling customer service. I hate dealing with cell phone people, cars. I love the fact that I can say, can you handle this for me? I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in front having to handle this conflict or this problem. And it feels good. It feels good to be able to just, it's okay to be in the back of him. It takes a level of vulnerability to do that. And I, unfortunately, as a black woman, as black women, we did not always have the luxury to do that. We don't have the luxury always to be the damsel in distress, the weaker vessel, to have that man, that pillar in front of you to say, I got that. I got you. I got you. So it feels good to do that. And I pray that every woman can be able to experience that, because it feels really good. It feels really good. I know it feels good for me to be able to do that. And it's okay. It's okay. But unfortunately, like I said, with our history, with slavery, we know, especially in this particular country, in the United States, that past, and even today in the present day, oh, you're so strong, you're so strong. That's a blessing and a curse sometimes to be able to say that. But with that being said, that's what I mean by weaker vessel. And like I said, it takes a certain level of vulnerability to do that. And are you able to be vulnerable with a man, with a particular man, as your husband? You should be able to be vulnerable around him. So ask yourself, am I able to be vulnerable around my future husband? And if you're not, if you're resistant in that, I pray that you dig deep at the root of why you can't. It might be a past experience, past hurt. Your husband's supposed to be your safe place, a safe place to be able to be that around him. It's a certain level of intimacy too. Are you able to be intimate in that way of being vulnerable, being the weaker vessel around this man that wants to be your future husband? Now, with intimacy, just as a sidebar note to add to number 3, when I say intimacy, I'm not talking about, oh, he's buying me things, he's taking me out all the time. I mean, that's cool and all, and that's good. However, I'm talking about yada, to know. Um, that type of intimacy. That type of intimacy comes from here, and it comes from here. Not just sex, not sex. That's a part of intimacy, but the fact that he wants to know you on an intimate level of talking, communication with you. You know, what are your dreams? What are your aspirations for family of being a wife? You know, what do you have vision? Because I know I got vision. Well, this is the husband talking. He has a vision. How are you as a resource, as his help meet his vision? So yada, to be intimate on a spiritual level too. You know, that's another type of vulnerability, to be vulnerable on a spiritual level. So that can go real deep, and I may have to write that down to talk about that later. To talk about that later. So yes, yada, and that comes from H3045. I got that from back in the Rebecca story of Genesis 24, verses 16, to know. That type of knowledge, that type of intimacy is yada. So that's a good note to take. So to recap again, number one, how are you with headship? Ask yourself. Number two, know your purpose. You know, what are your gifts? What's your calling? What's your ministry? Get to know that. Get to know your gift so you can function and flow in it. And then at the row, you don't have to look. You shouldn't have to look. The Most High is a matchmaker. Rebecca was presented to that servant. She was doing her everyday job, everyday work, and she just happened to be walking towards her future. So you never know. That's number two. And number three, are you ready to be that weaker vessel? Are you ready to put that cape down, ladies, and let him be in front of you? Headship. So good, good notes. Shalom. Till next time. I wanted to make sure that was here because, oh yeah, it's about to be full moon. So I wanted to make sure I included this video before sowing season over with. You have 30 days. This full moon tells me, it's a sign that says I have another 30 days to the next season. So sowing season, get those seeds in the ground so you can expect a great harvest come summer. You know, it's work, but it's worth it. You'll be blessed in the end. Till next time, shalom.